six-seeded Rams at the top seed Green Bay Packers. Here is Aaron Donald, the great Rams defensive tackle, on facing the other great Aaron in the game, quarterback Aaron Rodgers.
A great quarterback that's playing lights out this year, making some great throws, making some good decisions. Obviously, he can do things with his feet. Not the fastest guy, but he can move. He can get away from you, make things happen. So we got to do a great job as far as bottling him up, getting pressure on him. Not letting him have a clean pocket to the point where he can make all them great throws. So we got a challenge. But that's what you expect in the playoff game.
Aaron Donald has carved out of granite. I mean, I see him talking. I want to go run and hide. My God. How does anybody block him?
Hey, in talking to the defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, for my podcast this week, told me a great Aaron Donald story. He said that at Tampa, he called a defense that had Aaron Donald basically playing contain, and making sure that, Brady didn't do X on a specific pass drop. And so at the end of that play, Brady converted it into a first down. And at the end of that series, Donald went to the sidelines, puts his arm around Brandon Staley, and he says, "Hey, let me play. Just let me play." And Staley goes, okay. And so I think one of the reasons that, and this is what I've heard independent of talking to Staley, one of the reasons these players like Brandon Staley is that he runs he doesn't run an autocratic defense. He takes suggestions, and not just from the coaches, from the players. When he got there, he told Jalen Ramsey essentially, "Hey, listen, I want to play you all over the map. I don't want you locking on to DK Metcalf or the best receiver every week. I want to do different things with you." And he said, "Coach, I've been waiting a long time to play in the slot. I've always wanted to do that." So I think by Staley saying to these guys, "Look, we're going to try to play you to your strengths, and we want to know what you want to do, what you like to do," I think that has gotten both Donald, Ramsey, and all these kind of rising stars, young stars, particularly in that secondary, to really like this scheme. And I think, just look at this. I mean, it's incredible how good the Rams defense has been in a year. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, Mike. It's a year when there's no offseason program to get used to and to come into a new defense. And make no mistake, big changes in this defense. Because Brandon Staley runs a defense a lot like Vic Fangio's. That's where he was before. And Fangio's is like a unique defense. It changes really a lot week to week. So these players on that defense have to be malleable and have to be willing to change every week. And they are. And that's one of the reasons why those numbers are so good.
And it's funny, I think back to last year when Wade Phillips was sort of unceremoniously forced out of L.A., and the reaction was, what are you doing? You're taking a step back defensively. You're moving on from Wade Phillips. What are you thinking? Well, they're thinking is we're going to get a guy who's going to take the defense in a different direction and take it, frankly, to a higher level than it had been. And the shift in this franchise in the last 2 years is stunning. It's gone from this offensive high-wire reincarnation of the greatest show-offs on turf, and now it's this defense, and the question is the offense good enough to help the defense get to where it needs to be? And I guess that's the question I'll pose to you now, Peter. We know the defense is great. We know Jalen Ramsey is going to be all over Devontae Adams, and I think it's going to fall to Aaron Jones to try to make something happen in what is an audition for him for other teams as he becomes a free agent if the Packers don't keep him. But can the Rams offense do enough against the Packers defense for it all to make any difference when it comes to whether or not the Rams can pull off the upset?
That's the big question. Can Goff make enough plays? I talked to Goff last week after that huge win in Seattle, and he emphasized to me about 7 times, "I am not in pain. My thumb is good enough to play. It's not perfect, and yes, when I make some throws, I notice it, but I'm not in pain. Don't make anything. There's no excuses for me if I don't play well enough." And I thought that was good because it's easy for a guy to say, my thumb's fine. Mike, I can tell you, he came back to it literally 3 times. He kept saying this, and he said, when you write something, don't write that, how bad this is. It's not a big obstacle for me. Those stats on that board right there, to me, and as conservative as Sean McVay played, he wanted his defense to win that game last week because he knew that Goff wasn't 100%, and he knew that he hadn't really been playing very well up to that point. And I think you're going to see a similar kind of game. They're going to try to play a 20-14 game either way, and they're just hoping that their running game and a limited passing game can complement what I think will be a really tough defense for Green Bay to play against.
Remember that Sunday night game the Rams played in Chicago a couple of years ago? And it was cold, but it wasn't ice bowl conditions. And Jared Goff looked like he wanted to go crawl under a rock somewhere, right, with a big thermos of hot chocolate. And it's going to be 32 degrees right around kickoff tomorrow when they play. So this is going to be a test, and this is an opportunity for Jared Goff to prove that he can thrive under these kinds of conditions. There are some in the media, I'm told, who will derisively refer to Jared Goff as Jared Country Club Goff. This is his chance. This is his opportunity. And there's some tension there, Peter, between McVay and Goff right now. I don't know how closely you've been following
this. There seems to be,
this,
yeah.
But there's definitely tension. They're still cleaning up the mess from last week over John Wolford starting when Jared Goff was adamant, as he told you, I'm not in pain, my thumb is fine. Sims believes that there's a fascination by McVay with John Wolford because McVay may think Wolford can run the offense a little bit better than Goff does. And I keep coming back to, why'd they give the guy $33.5 million a year in new money if that's the case? But this is something that could build in L.A. And all of a sudden, the Chargers have the far better quarterback in Justin Herbert. And you can't help but wonder whether or not Sean McVay is doing what his mentor, John Gruden, would do, which is have the wandering eye for a better quarterback. And maybe he's found one in his own building.
You never know. I don't think he's seen enough of Wolford to really know that. And, you'd have liked Wolford to play a little bit better against Arizona, really. He was okay, but was he wasn't Jalen Hurts in his first 2 games. Let's just say that. And so I kind of look at this and say, I got my eye on this. I think it's interesting. And there's no question that, look, you can, all you have to do is look at the numbers. Look at the stats at how Goff played, in the last 6 to 8 weeks and the inconsistency. And it doesn't, you don't even have to have an inside source. You can just tell that Sean McVay is not happy with the way his offense played in the last half of the season. And if it continues, he's probably not going to stand for it. What does that mean? I don't know. But you can be sure. It's like, Mike, remember when the Carson Wentz thing happened and everybody was talking about how, oh boy, Carson Wentz is ticked off. He's this. And Bucky Brooks of NFL.com came out and he basically said, Carson Wentz basically has got to settle down. When you're named a starting quarterback, it is not a lifetime appointment. You got to perform. And it'll be the same thing with Goff if this continues, I think, into next season.
Yeah, and I've looked at that contract before, and they're joined at the hip for a couple more years unless they find a trade partner. Yeah. And unlike the Eagles, who have a chance to find a trade partner in the Colts, I don't think anybody, all due respect, is trading for Jared Goff and that contract, because I think most people look at that contract and they look at the player and they say, what the hell were the Rams thinking? All right, let's take
the
a
only
break.
way you do it, Mike, is if the cap goes way up. And all of a sudden, that contract doesn't seem so horrible, and 15 quarterbacks pass him in the next year. But otherwise, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.